Okay, so let's talk about message development. So again, couple key things when we're talking about message development. 3 pages worth of message is not a key theme or message make, right? When we're talking about messages, and for our exercises, we're going to do 2, maybe 3. If you guys convince me we need a 3rd one, we'll do it. But again, 3 main messages that you're going to want to drive for an interview, for a, you know, and what we talk about is you might have 3 messages on the issue. Going into every interview, you're going to think through what are the 2 main issues that I want to get out during this interview, or with this. Maybe it's a very specific audience, so you need to tweak it to resonate more with that audience. So what we recommend is not just doing this message creation and then letting it go, and those are the messages I use for the next year. This is a living, evolving document, and it should, every time you're preparing for an interview or a presentation, how do I need to tweak my message for this audience? Or for the issue that just came out, for the announcement the governor just made, because I know everybody just got their 2 days a week watering letter, that type of thing. So how does circumstance and organization and focus require you to tweak your message for an interview, for a presentation, for anything? So one of the things you think through, the first question is, what do we need to say? What do we want to say, and what do we need to say? What do they need to hear? What's going to resonate with our audience? This is, again, where we have to step out of our organizational mindset. We live with this every day. We know what's important to us. It has to be what is going to be important to them, to the whatever audience, A, B, or C, that we're reaching, that we're trying to reach, and how do we create a message to reach them? Just because we believe it and we feel it isn't necessarily going to translate. Our emotion isn't necessarily going to translate. Is it an economic message that we think is going to resonate? Is it a family message? Is it a community message? How are those going to work best? Educate, educate, educate. So one of the things I've heard today a little bit is maybe it's a little frustration or concern that we're not going to be able to sell our message, or that we haven't sold our message yet. What my gut is telling me is that we've been talking in big picture. Is that if the message isn't selling, we haven't broken it down enough. We haven't made it relevant to the different audiences. If the school districts aren't buying in yet, we haven't created, it's not up to them to buy into it. If we want them to buy into it, it's up to us to educate and sell them on the message and get them to care enough about the message to move to action. So what it's telling me is that we haven't effectively honed in on a message that's going to resonate with the school. Or we haven't effectively honed in on a message that's going to reach the homeowner or a renter or X or a school or a city council. I think you can get there. I think what happens typically is an organization first starts talking globally big picture. And it's nice, but then people don't understand what's next. So this is a great step. So we just have to amplify some of these. And we start talking about relevance. What happens financially if we don't do these? What happens to my property value? What happens to X? What happens to all these things? That's what we now need to start coming up with, what's going to resonate with the audiences we want to talk to. Okay? Succinct, compelling. A paragraph is not a message. A nice, succinct sentence is a strong message. The shorter, the better. Easy to understand, everyday English or Spanish, whatever language you're talking in, but everyday, simple to understand. I understand it. My grandparents understand it. My 12-year-old understands it. In households with this issue, the 6-year-old's going to have to understand it, right? The 6-year-old at some point, even though the mom cares, the 6-year-old's going to understand why they don't leave the water going the whole time they're brushing their teeth. Okay? In our house, our son Max does some of the watering. We all do some watering, and want him to understand what to water, where to water, and so everybody's going to have to understand it. So we're going to have to create messages that a mom or dad can take to the 6-year-old without having to figure out how to say it to a 6-year-old. That should be our job. Okay? Stay consistent. Messages are going to change. As we said, we're going to tweak messaging. But what hurts is when messaging theme hugely shifts. Because then an audience doesn't know, wait, they're talking about trees, now they're talking about this, or what is their main issue? People are going to wonder that. So there should be some. That's a lot of times why we talk about themes and messages. Here's our big theme, kind of your mission. Here's our goal, and then here are the messages that support that. Okay. So you have some flexibility in the messages, but your theme is consistent.